This is CBC Vancouver News.
Carnage, really. Like, the barriers were all over the road. There was just debris everywhere.
A rescue operation is underway following a massive landslide that officials say impacted at least one home and forced the closure of Highway 99. And
we are looking at also bringing in additional resources from other areas of the province that were not impacted by the weather system.
thousands of people are still without power after that windstorm battered much of the south coast. Meanwhile, police say one person is dead after being struck by a tree branch. Also,
I think it's a good break for consumers, and I think it'll help us stretch our dollars just a little bit further.
the federal government's GST holiday tax break is now in effect, giving Canadians some opportunity to save, but not everyone is certain this will lead to significant savings. Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. A massive landslide has forced the closure of Highway 99 near Lions Bay. The slide brought down trees and debris, blocking the road in both directions. And as Sohrab Sandhu reports, at least one home was knocked off its foundation.
Officials say 9 a.m. Saturday morning, numerous power lines came off their poles in the area due to high winds. And around 9:45, the residents of the area heard a loud boom, and that's when the debris came falling down, going across the highway and bringing the traffic to a complete halt.
I was going into Squamish, and I came around the corner. There was about 4 cars pulled over, and all the trees were over.
The force of the landslide pushed the debris across the highway and onto the rail tracks, which run parallel to it.
Carnage, really. Like, the barriers were all over the road. There was just debris everywhere. Taller than the building here, I guess. I don't know, it was huge.
RCMP say so far there have been no reports of injuries. Officials say the slide started above the highway near the Brunswick Road exit, where there are 2 small residential streets. People in that area are being extricated from their homes. However, one house lower down on the hill faced the brunt of the damage.
We have reports that there's possibility of people in that, but we have not confirmed that. We don't know.
But before a rescue operation can take place, the mayor of Lions Bay says crews are working to assess ground stability.
Currently, we've had a geotech with the Lions Bay Search and Rescue up in a helicopter, has been assessing the situation, and seems that it is stable enough that we will be sending in. We've called upon Canada Task Force 1.
Search and rescue teams will be using drones with thermal capabilities, as well as search dogs, to look for any signs of human life. BC's Ministry of Transportation says it cannot give an estimate as to when the highway will reopen, as the affected area needs an extensive and lengthy cleanup. Officials are also urging the drivers to stay away from the affected area as they bring in heavy machinery to move the debris. For anyone traveling and requiring assistance, an emergency support center has also been opened in North Vancouver. Sohrab Sandhu, CBC News, Lions Bay.
Those high winds also causing widespread power outages across the south coast today. As of 9 o'clock tonight, BC Hydro says 39,000 people are still without electricity, down from more than 300,000 customers originally.
The storm has been hammering much of the south coast for most of the day, and we are looking at also bringing in additional resources from other areas of the province that were not impacted by the weather system to come down to the lower mainland and over to the island and the Gulf Islands to try and help out and get our customers back online as quickly and as safely as possible.
He says some of the hardest hit areas include Surrey, Langley, Campbell River, and Seashelt. BC Ferries canceled most sailings today. In North Vancouver, several trails were closed due to the windstorm, including Lynn Canyon Park. And at Mosquito Creek Marina, residents there were forced from their floating homes for several hours after some homes became detached from the dock. Tragically, Surrey police say emergency crews have confirmed one person has died after being struck by a tree branch in the South Surrey neighborhood. A woman is dead and another person is in serious condition after a stabbing in Surrey's Guildford neighborhood earlier this morning. Surrey Police Service were called to a home near 108A Avenue and 147th Street around 3 o'clock, where they found two people with life-threatening injuries. One woman died at the scene while the other victim was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. The Integrated Homicide Investigation Team has taken over the case. Police are asking anyone with information to come forward. As job action drags on for ferry workers in BC's West Kootenay, residents worry a recent application to the Labour Board could mean services will be cut back even more. The strike has been ongoing since the beginning of November, with several ferries impacted. And as Corey Bullock reports, now sailings on cable ferries could be reduced, leaving more people stranded.
This cable ferry is an essential part of everyday life for many people in the small communities of Harrop, Proctor and Glade. It's the only form of transportation across the west arm of Kootenay Lake and the only way to access things like a grocery store or medical appointments. Hundreds of people rely on it to get to their jobs.
It's the heart of the community, that ferry.
So far, the cable ferries haven't been included in job action that began more than a month ago. But now the BCGEU wants to extend the strike to the Harrop and Glade ferries, which has residents concerned.
This is a threat to our health and safety and welfare.
The cable ferries run on demand, meaning those traveling can catch a ferry most any time of the day. But if the order is changed as proposed, it would mean a serious reduction in sailings. According to the employer Western Pacific Marine, residents would be able to cross just 1 day per week with the exception of emergencies or essential travel.
Someone comes along and says in 5 days, you're going to be confined. You're going to be confined to your home, except one day out of 7, when apparently everybody will all rush to the ferry and dash across to get their food, their medicine, all the things that we need to live in this life.
In a statement to CBC News, the BCGEU said its members will ensure that essential services are, quote, maintained at a level necessary to protect the health, safety and welfare of residents. It adds that members want to get back to work but are demanding that Western Pacific Marine negotiates a, quote, fair agreement that keeps training and jobs in the community.
How do I feel? I feel threatened. I feel nervous. I feel upset, and to be honest, I feel angry.
Western Pacific Marine says it recognizes the strain the situation is causing for all the affected communities, and that a mediator continues to work with both parties. But residents just want to know they won't be stranded.
We aren't taking sides in this issue at all. We're not really interested in what the union's doing or what the employer is. We're just focused on our community and trying to get some sense into this whole issue.
A hearing with the Labour Board is set for Monday to hear the company's case and the impact of the proposed reductions in service. Corey Bullock, CBC News, Cranbrook.
Today, shoppers began taking advantage of the federal government's temporary tax break. And while it will provide some relief for families during the holidays, as Pinky Wong reports, experts say it's putting extra pressure on businesses during an already busy time of year.
Some shoppers are paying a little less this holiday season. Over the next 2 months, British Columbians do not have to pay 5% GST on certain items as part of the federal government's temporary tax relief.
I think it's a good break for consumers, and I think it'll help us stretch our dollars just a little bit further.
But some say the tax cut should have come sooner.
People have done a lot of shopping, so could have helped them out with the bigger ticket items.
For business owner John Welk, the measure means a lot more work for staff during the BC holiday season, having to keep up with a changing list of eligible products and exemptions.
A beverage with a powder. What are these powders? And there's just so much vagueness to it, and it's really unfair to do to a business at this time of year when we are swamped with so much work and we're exhausted.
Welk does not expect the move will boost sales, and that is echoed by many small businesses across Canada.
Only 4% of businesses thought that they would make more incremental sales as a result of the GST holiday.
Some children's toys are eligible for the tax break, but not all make the cut.
It's for ages 13 and under and not 14 and up, and each board game is going to be different. So to implement that in a system, very difficult. We're hoping we got it right.
People eating at restaurants can also expect a cheaper bill.
My first GST exam in the restaurant, I'm happy. The young guys will eat out more.
But the BC Restaurant and Food Services Association says for most restaurants, the GST exemption has been an administrative nightmare.
They're really frustrated at a number of things. The cost to convert their point of sale systems has been more than they had thought. A lot of them were working after 12 o'clock last night to get it done for opening today.
He questions whether the benefits for consumers will ultimately outweigh the extra work staff had to put in. Pinky Wong, CBC News, Vancouver.
The Union Gospel Mission hosted its annual Christmas meal in Vancouver and New West today.
What is really amazing to see today are people who've actually gone through struggle and are coming back to tell us about their stories. So people who've exited homelessness are also here today. People who have gone through poverty but now have a job that is providing enough for their family and they're doing well, they're here today. People who are living in recovery, so not addiction anymore, they're also here today. So I think we've got a whole mix of people, and that's why there's so much hope present in the room. It shows that people can come to us no matter what stage they are in life, and we're just happy to accept them.
The meal featured 2,000 pounds of turkey, 450 pounds of stuffing, around 800 pounds of mashed potatoes, gravy, and more than 750 pounds of vegetables. And of course, there were pies. A group of BC families is spreading awareness through Christmas carols this holiday season. They say this time of year can be a painful reminder for families who have lost a loved one, and that's not always seen or recognized during the festive season.
Silver bells, silver bells, silver bells, silver bells. This is a time of year when a lot of people will say, oh, it's a wonderful time, you know, we're getting together with family. And when people have lost someone they love, they're really missing that person and they feel really alone. And so it's super important to be able to come together in a community of other people who understand what loss is like. And then also to, that's why it's so important, because it's just a struggle and people need to be around other people that really understand what that feels like.
They say this is their way to come together as a community during a difficult time and spread light to others who may also be struggling with grief and loss. The group is also advocating for a national bereavement strategy in Canada. Family and friends are mourning the loss of a well-known advocate for equity and inclusion in BC. As tributes pour in, many say he's left a lasting mark on the lives of Canadians. An innovator, trailblazer, cherished mentor, and leader. That's how friends and family are remembering Alden Habacon.
You know, the work that he did was really critical.
Habacon moved to Canada from Manila at a young age. He was an educator and public speaker in the field of equity, diversity, and inclusion.
You know, we'd hear things often like, wow, that was, best training we've ever had, or not what I expected, very moving, transformational.
The 50-year-old died unexpectedly on December 2nd in Hawaii. He leaves behind a wife and 3 sons.
And his 3 sons were a tremendous part of his commitment towards, I think, ensuring that it's a better world for them.
He worked with countless organizations, businesses, and sectors, including CBC News, Vancouver International Airport, WorkSafe BC, schools and universities, and a number of nonprofits, and later founded Inclusive Excellence Strategy Solutions.
There haven't been that many trailblazers that have allowed people to see the value in what bringing a diverse group to the table would mean, and Alden was one of those people.
Yan recalls how Habacon was critical of the 2010 Vancouver Olympics and his feeling that it had failed to represent important multicultural aspects of Canada.
He was one of the incredible, I think, advocates of the idea that we're better together and to have, I think, an element of representation, that representation matters.
In a statement, his family says he was a tireless champion for the underprivileged and underrepresented and a beloved mentor and friend to many. He spent much of his life fighting for others. Those who knew him say his vision and dedication to making the world a better place was unmatched, and his death a great loss for Canada.
Everyone who knew Alden was better for it.
Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Former BC Premier John Horgan will be honored at a memorial service Sunday. The Q Centre in Colwood, just outside Victoria, will be the site of the ceremony. Horgan was first elected to the BC legislature in 2005. He became leader of the NDP in 2014 and premier in 2017, holding the province's top job until 2022. Among his crowning achievements was the passing of the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, making BC the first province in Canada to enshrine the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples into law. Horgan died last month at the age of 65. CBC's coverage along with the service begins at 1 p.m. on Sunday, and you can watch the memorial service on cbc.ca, the CBC BC YouTube page, and our FAST channel. Still ahead, South Korea's parliament has voted to impeach its president over his short-lived attempt to invoke martial law. That's next. Stay with us. To international news now. Nearly a month of mysterious drone sightings over New Jersey has sparked fear among residents and debate over what it could be. American authorities haven't come up with any definitive answers, except to say they don't believe the objects pose any danger to the public or national security. CBC's Chris Reyes is in New York with more.
There's so many things in the sky right now.
What started as a curiosity over mysterious drones hovering over New Jersey has now crossed state lines and reached fever pitch alarm.
We're calling upon not just the New York City Police Department, but others to get involved, get aggressive, figure out what these things are, and help at least alleviate some of the frustration, anxiety that many people share.
Thousands of drone sightings have been reported since early November in New Jersey, with some claiming they were as big as SUVs. Other sightings have been reported since, extending to New York, Maryland, and Florida. New York's governor declared in a statement this has gone too far after a mid-sized airport in New York used by the military was shut down for an hour because of drone activity. Kathy Hochul is now calling on Congress to give more power to local authorities to handle drone threats and to send reinforcements in the meantime to protect critical infrastructure. Other officials echoing that urgency.
Now, what happens when this happens during the holiday season around Newark Airport, around LaGuardia? What happens? We need action. We need it yesterday.
U.S. officials have confirmed that the drones are not military owned, but have not provided answers about what they could be, only that the reports are under investigation. From the Biden administration, this assurance.
Let me calm those nerves. We have not seen anything unusual. We have not seen any unusual activity. We know of no threat. We know of no nefarious activity.
Those assurances fall flat, says this communication expert.
The Biden administration is not doing a great job of reassuring not only the public, they've got to be more transparent about how do we know that these aren't a threat. The simply, saying, well, take our word for it, it isn't a threat, doesn't do it these days.
The drones hovering like the questions that surround them. Alarm and anxiety growing with each day. There are no answers. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol has been impeached for his short-lived martial law declaration December 3rd.
가결되었음을 선포합니다.
It was the opposition-led parliament's second attempt. The Constitutional Court now decides whether he'll be removed. Until then, an interim president will rule. Outside demonstrators celebrated. Suk-yeol declared martial law to fight what he called anti-state forces, revoking it hours later when Parliament defied him. He'd been at odds with Parliament since the opposition won control of it in April's election. Here we have a shot of snowy Revelstoke earlier today. I'll have your full forecast coming up next.
I'm Stephen Quinn, and I love living here in Vancouver, BC. It's a city with world-renowned beauty, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. In our new daily podcast, This is Vancouver, we're exploring the diverse range of issues and stories in this city, the good, the bad, and everything in between, as told by the people who live it every day. Don't miss This is Vancouver, available wherever you get your podcasts, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, let's take a look now at our full forecast. Let's begin with a quick look at the temperatures around the province tonight. -20 and snowy in Dease Lake, and similar conditions in Fort St. John. A lot more precipitation in Kelowna with a 1 overnight, and 4 and rainy on the island in both Tofino and Victoria. That wind is expected to die down tonight for many parts of the south coast, with a -17 in Dease Lake with a mix of sun and clouds for tomorrow, -18 in Fort St. John, a little snowier in Prince George with a -1 for tomorrow, and sunny in Victoria with a mix of sun and clouds and a high of 8 for tomorrow, a little rainier in Tofino with a high of 7. Here in Metro Vancouver, again, that wind is going to be much different than what we experienced today, and that rain is going to still be around with a high of 7 and 6 on Monday. It looks like pretty similar conditions for the week ahead. The world's largest gingerbread village is now on display in New York City. It's called Gingerbread Lane, and it's all from the work of one dedicated artist.
I work in 3 mediums: icing and gingerbread and candy.
John Lovich's Gingerbread Lane has given him the Guinness World Record for largest gingerbread village, now on display inside the shops at Columbus Circle. The Missouri native is a former fine dining executive chef whose lifelong love of Christmas inspired this career change. And his schedule is a bit like Santa's. He's already working on next Christmas's creation. That is your late news for Saturday, December 14th. Thanks so much for watching. To keep up to date with the latest news, you can always head to our website at cbc.ca/bc. We'll see you tomorrow.